and welcome to Overshare. This is the show where me and my friends come to overshare. Well, Jeffrey plays video games. Say hi, Jeffrey.
Hi, guys. Yep.
Yeah. He's here. He's here playing his games. And so today I have another very interesting guest on the show. Somebody who I thought could come on and chat a little bit with me about some fun memories. Chat a little bit with me about how terrible I am. This would be my very best friend, Brittany. So, lovely Brittany, say hello.
Hello.
Now, Brittany, it took us a little bit convincing to get Brittany on the show today because she is a little bit nervous. She's not one who really likes to speak in public. She's a little shy, you know. Isn't that right, Brittany?
I will never be comfortable being on stage, but that's not that has nothing to do with me not wanting to do it. It just is everything to do with how my body responds to the idea of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
If it's any comfort to you, this might be the safest possible way to be on stage just because there's no one around to, like, listen to it. And, like,
right.
live, right? And even, let's be honest, my listeners it's very limited right now. It's not like I have, like, 1 million subscribers. There's, like, 12 or 13. And we probably know most of them.
We got to start somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Got to start somewhere. But in the meantime, if it's any comfort as far as your quote-unquote stage fright goes, there is no stage, and there really is hardly any audience, actually, right now, as of this current moment. So I hope that brings you deep comfort. And in order to bring you even more comfort, let's break the ice by starting with your overshare, because it's an excellent overshare. Brittany has brought an overshare today that is about herself and her beautiful wife, Danny. So please do enlighten us.
Danny and I did baby making stuff the other night. Ooh. And and shit. I'm like, okay, so one thing I will say is that I'm going to be completely honest. Hold on, I misplaced there we are. If any of those past ones would have taken, I would have been severely pissed about the form in which they had taken. Okay, and what I mean by that is emotionally, very realistically, something happens when I'm ovulating hormonally, and since I've been tracking my ovulation, okay, for the last year, easy, right? I have realized that as soon as I become fertile, Danny wants to pick fights with me, and it's fucking irritating. And I think it's where our hormones are. You know what I'm saying? Like me, I'm very kind of like whimsical, you know, and like not totally paying attention, kind of like I am during the beginning of my cycle. I'm a little bit more on my game in the beginning of my cycle. When I'm fertile, I'm a little bit more like, wee, you know what I mean? And so she fucking wants to fight with me. And so not these last couple times, but the times before that, man, like it's the time, you know, I'm ovulating and she's, you know, we're fighting and we got to do it because I got fucking frozen semen here. You know what I mean? Like, we got to do it. $700 sitting right by our bed. But man, would I have been pissed. That would have been a hate baby. You feel me?
Are you telling me that? So you guys have like angry turkey baster sex? Is that what you're trying to tell me right now?
We did. It was not good. Yeah, it was. Yeah, like I would say like 3 times that happened. You know.
That sounds upsetting. Yes, I don't think that your body would be very like receptive when it's in an angry state.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons that I've asked Brittany to come on the show today is that she's a very good person to talk about my character and what a terrible person I can be. But then we can all be terrible people, which is another thing that I want to talk about, why human beings sometimes enjoy being horrible. And one of the greatest contacts Brittany has had to get to know me is traveling. We have traveled a lot together, all kinds of different places we have traveled together. But I would definitely say that my favorite place, by far, my favorite trip we ever took together was France, was definitely France.
France was awesome. I felt so free in France. It was just us just doing our thing.
Yeah, that was
awesome.
that was the cool part about that kind of trip was like, you know, being able to just say, hey, we're gonna take a train and go to Paris and just be us in Paris and be a couple of dipshits. smoking all the hash, getting super high, and then going out to museums like Musée Rêvin. Oh my God, that was the craziest one. Wow.
Oh my gosh, I have never tasted anything like that hash ever since then. It was like, it's what I imagine in my brain all European weed and hash tastes like.
Yeah, it has a specific taste for sure. And then you have to kind of mix it,
Hands
with
of the
tobacco.
guys who were working the field.
Yeah, I was never really big on the cigarette smoke, but you had to kind of like mix it with tobacco in order to be able to even really smoke it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it was just so compact. So I just like use the most light sprinkling of tobacco that I possibly could, so we would just be very, very high when we would go do things. I think the wax museum was the kicker, though.
Pretty sure we were abducted. That wasn't just, we didn't walk in that building. Like, we did walk in that building, but right before we walked in, we were abducted and put into some crazy alternative universe that, it was fun. I would do it again and again and again. But you know what? You can't repeat something like that.
No, you
That's
can't.
unrepeatable.
That is. It is. It really is. But, I mean, also to be fair, as far as that experience goes, they do set it up to be completely disorienting. Like, the entire experience. From that weird mirror room that they have all the way to... all the way to the big theater where they had people all around the theater, and some of them were actually real people, and they would, like, change positions.
That woman freaked me out.
Remember? We were literally clutching each other as we walked through there. We're like, oh my God, some of them are real.
Who's real? What's real?
Which one?
What
I think she's breathing. I think she's breathing. Did he move? I think he moved. Yeah. At least they didn't do that in the torture chamber part. The torture chamber was... Ugh. Ooh, remember they do the whole dark part of French history. They're like, and this is how we like to torture people. Or that should do it with a French accent. This is how we like to torture people. Please, come along.
Yeah, better. There it is.
And we're like, that sounds charming, but I know you're saying something terrifying. And they're like, this is a real-life Iron Maiden that we are using for this display. You're like a real one from medieval times? They're like, oui. You're like, the fuck? That's not okay. And they're like, and this was the actual bathtub where he was stabbed. And you're like, no. They're like, yes. And you made a wax figure of him with a knife in him, and then you put it in the actual bathtub that he was stabbed in. They're like, oui.
Yep. Bam. Yep.
Because we are French, this seems most normal. Oh my God. And then I think Disneyland would be the other. I mean, I know we took some solid trips up north to northern Arizona too, but I would say Disneyland would probably be the other one after France, where we had some really fun Disneyland trips.
You know, what was great about Disneyland too was it was pretty much still in the beginning of our, in the first year, I want to say, of our friendship, right? And you were like, here's this thing we always do. And you and Matt were already going to go, and it was the best way to get to know you. I will say that much. That's when I learned about your stomach, right? That was when I learned about your stomach, because you told me, hey, by the way, if you wake up and I'm making wrenching sounds from the bathroom, you just leave me be. I'll be fine. That happens every day. And I'm like, wow, that is the first time in my life I have ever heard that. Thank you.
Welcome to my life, friend.
And thank you for the politeness of me not having to stress out in the morning when I did hear you making wrenchy sounds from the bathroom.
Wow, I think we had a beer. I don't understand why she's throwing up. Oh, okay. Got it. But then that's another fun thing that you probably experienced at Disneyland with me is we'd go all day, and then I would just not sleep at night. Because I don't sleep. And you also just probably generally discovered
trouble sleeping.
How neurotic I am, I'm guessing, is the other thing that you were going to say that you discovered about me.
Well, with the honesty, the beautiful honesty that you displayed to me here with the letting me know about your stomach, also came the beautiful honesty you displayed to the gentleman who was taking flash photography inside the Haunted Mansion.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And that's a little bit more confrontational. Maybe that's what you're kind of talking about, but I still see it as honest. It's just sometimes there's a time and place for the honesty.
And a way to say it, which I admit is still a struggle to this day, but when I was like 20 years old, oh my God, how little fucks I had to give about how I said things to people. Wow. I would just lay it out there.
To argue the point, though, you were pretty polite in the beginning. You're like, no flash photography. And then you were like, they said no flash photography because they had come up on the, thing and
on the
made
speaker,
an announcement
like,
over the intercom.
Please remember no flash photography.
No flash photography. Yeah. And then, but then it became, your pictures aren't going to turn out anyway. Big thing of glass. I mean, you're not.
I'm surprised I didn't go into a full. I'm surprised I didn't go into a full lecture. It's called Pepper's Ghost, okay? It's an old school theater technique, and you use glass to make it look like the ghosts are there and then they disappear, but it's really just reflections. Why do you think we're so high up in this room? And why do you think all the ghosts are perfectly placed above and below us? It's because we're looking at reflections, so all your stupid pictures aren't going to come out. All you're going to see is your stupid ugly face and your stupid ugly camera, like that. Surprised I didn't go all the way into that level of detail.
And hopefully that guy went home and none of those pictures turned out.
And he was like, that stupid little bitch was right.
Was right, exactly. And he has to live with that. And see, that's always been good enough for me.
Okay.
That was that was the hurricane that I assume you might be referring to there.
Some of it, yeah. Yeah, well, I was mainly just talking about my neuroses. Like, I'd be like, let's be up at 7 a.m. We're going to be at the park by the time it opens. We're going to go.
But remember, I'm an obliger, so that all works really well for me.
Yeah, I usually get along well with those people. Okay. Yeah, exactly. That's usually Tiana's friend group is people who are willing to call me on my bullshit, but also like go along with me to a certain degree. That seems to be the perfect mixture for me. Yeah. Be like, I'll go along with this, and then as soon as I have a really bad idea, my friend. By the way, I just figured it out, Brittany. That's why obliger personalities work so well for me, because when you say I'm not going along with this idea, I don't think it's a good one. That makes me stop and take pause. I'm like, Wait a minute. Right? Because she's usually
I'm a weird
down.
Phenomenon of an obliger questioner, which usually don't overlap. But
of course you are.
You can't say I'm not a questioner. That's for damn sure.
No, that's you were a born questioner. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so that was the neuroses.
I agree.
Was more the psychotic, and then knowing everything. I was like, I will now be your tour guide, and I will list every fact about this.
Yes, but you let me take a nap.
Yes, naps are important. When you're at Tiana's Disneyland boot camp, naps are important. I do allow naps. That is when sleeping is allowed. Because I did keep you up till 1 a.m. with my neuroses and then wake you up at 5:30. So I figure to make it back home safely alive, I should let people take naps. Those were the days. I haven't been to Disneyland in years, of course, now. But, man, I used to...
Me neither.
Used to be obsessed with it. I think my favorite Disneyland memory, which is a true reflection of the kind of people that we really are, is when we were leaving the park one time, and we were walking by the ticket booths, and there was a little boy with his family.
Oh, no.
Yep. Oh, you know I'm going to tell you. He was so excited.
I'm not a bad person.
He was, yes. Sometimes you are. Sometimes you are.
Yeah, I can be.
Otherwise, you would not have tolerated me this long.
Let me preface this story by saying that I experienced what this child went through just a matter of weeks before this happened. So I knew the look on this kid's face and all the glory and joy he thought he was going to get out of this situation. And I just... Why you can't take that away from somebody?
No,
he was happy. He was excited.
What we're gonna do?
But I was also not gonna miss it.
Yell stop! Oh my God. So she's given her disclaimer. So here's the situation. We're walking by these ticket booths. There's lots of chain that's separating the little stanchions to create the lines, the zigzag for people to go through to buy their tickets to get in the park. And this little boy is jazzed. He is jazzed. He is going to Disneyland. He is so fucking happy about that.
So happy.
He's so happy. And right at first for me, he's just blending in with a crowd of many happy people and children who are heading towards the park as we head out for our nap. And Brittany spots this kid, and she spots the idea. That's what she really spots. She spots the idea that he has.
That's the face.
The face that
I saw the face.
She saw the look on his face. He was looking at those metal chains, hang between those stanchions, and he was inspired. He was very inspired.
He was going to hurdle that son of it. He was going to be the next Olympian.
Yeah. He was like, I can go the distance. Literally, he was having like a Hercules moment in his mind. And he thought if he made a running jump, he could hurdle over that stanchion clean, or that chain at least cleanly, you know? With a clean, I imagine what he thought in his mind would be like a clean landing, perhaps complete with pirouette and bow.
He looked like a superhero in his mind.
Yes. Yeah, I think he thought he had like a cape. This whole thing was very dramatic.
Definitely
for him.
saw a cape for a brief second.
So Brittany sees this idea. She sees that it has been born inside this little boy's mind. This poor little boy. And she grabs my hand. And all I know is all of a sudden Brittany's grabbing my hand. She's like, wait for it. And I was like, wait for what? But of course I follow her eye contact and I see the kid's already starting to run. Right, by the time I find him.
I can see it in my mind's eye.
It's
so funny.
So good. Me too. I can still picture his face. That's how clearly I remember this. So he's running, and he's happy, and he's midair, and it's all glory, and it's all superheroes, and then his toe catches that chain link.
Of course it did.
It just catches that chain, and the whole facial expression, it was like slow motion. It went from this biggest smile to just like, no.
Doom. Impending doom. The ground is coming.
Full on belly flop to the ground with reverberation. With reverberations. Boom, 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 boom. To which Brittany and I, sorry, I lose it sometimes just thinking about that whole moment. To which we basically just sat down and laughed so hard we almost peed ourselves. We literally like knelt and stopped and partially sat on the sidewalk to laugh. We were laughing that hard. His family looked at us. His family looked at us like we were just literally the worst humans in the entire world, which is valid.
Yeah, and we were. But you know what? I wouldn't trade that moment for anything.
Nothing. I would trade it for
because
nothing.
they don't know. I was watching from sympathetic, be it they
She
were,
knew.
Amused, but sympathetic eyes. I
understood.
knew this poor kid. What am I going to do? Stop your kid? Is that what you want me to do? No. He needs to learn this lesson on his own.
Exactly.
Don't jump over something that's up to your knees, up to your thighs. You can't clear that, sweetheart. I mean, sweet baby angel.
She watched and she assessed and she decided that this child needed to live it and learn it, is what she's saying. Just live it and learn it. It's so fun.
How else do you do it?
Poor child.
If you're the guy that tells that kid, you're never going to clear that, you're the bad guy. Are we the bad guy for letting him clear it and then enjoying the scene that came from it? He was okay. He
was
had
fine.
a cushion.
He was
He had
fine.
some cushion to land on.
He was okay.
He was fine.
Yeah. It's true. He
And-
was fine.
and
There was
he
no
didn't hit his
grave
face or
injury.
nothing. There was no blood.
I would like to
He
believe
was
that if the
good.
child was gravely injured, we would not have laughed as hard.
We would never have. No, not at least we would have been laughing as we were running over to help, at least, at the very
At a
least.
very minimum.
Yeah.
We would have been seeing if we could get somebody with medical
But we would have stopped as soon
experience.
as we arrived. As soon as we got there.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not always the best.
Yeah, thanks
people.
for sharing that story. Appreciate that.
It's what
Yeah.
That's what I do. It's the overshare part of the oversharing.
Oh, that's right. I did forget the title. Can't forget the title.
See, it's important to have people on your podcast who forget the title. That's when you know. That's when you know that their appearance as a guest on your podcast is very important to them. Deeply. Oh, Brittany. I haven't given you
You
too
always
much...
overshare, Tiana. This is nothing new. I forgot. It felt like such a fluid, normal conversation that it just didn't dawn on me. What can I say?
I do overshare all the time. It's a problem.
That's okay.
It's a problem. Sometimes I actually catch
when
myself asking myself, why are you telling them this? And then I just keep going anyway.
Well, I think 9 times out of 10, it's most fun to see how people react to the oversharing.
That's
And you
accurate.
get the sense of, feeling cleansed, and that's nice. And then they
Yes,
get
I'm
the sense
purged.
of, what?
Yes, I'm purged, and
Yeah.
they absorb all of my discomfort for me. You're right. It is like that. It's like I'm using your awkwardness to soak up my disgustingness like a sponge.
It's a great sponge, though. It doesn't stick around for long, but you can get a lot in there.
I figure if I
know?
could be just charming enough to pull it off, you might come back and let me do it to you again. And
Be
thus,
gentle, Tiana.
and thus go my human relationships. This is how I have managed this far.
I guess when we're talking about laughing at some kid for tripping at Disneyland, that's one kind of bad person, right? But is it what is bad really?
But that's the
I
question.
guess what I'm, it's that internal. There's nothing to grow from in that story with that kid. What? Don't laugh at things that are funny. That shit was funny. You know what I mean? I can't help it. But
isn't that fascinating? To me, it's fascinating. I like thinking about how we as human beings, we can sit here all day all long and act like it's you and me, Brittany and Tiana, who are terrible people, but we all know all human beings think terrible things are entertaining all the time.
Uh-huh.
Why else would we,
Yep.
why else would the gladiators have existed? Why else would we have reality television now? We literally take pleasure in the misery of other people constantly. It's part of what we do. I for one, I know you share this, I am obsessed with like the true crime shit, right?
Yep. I call it murder porn because
Yeah.
sometimes I'm ashamed of how much I watch it, just like with porn.
Exactly. There are times where I deeply
I call it
analyze
murder
myself
porn.
and I'm like, what in the actual fuck is wrong with me that I watch all this murder shit? Like, what is actually wrong with me? But it's
that
so
mostly, though,
fascinating.
When I watch these things, exactly, fascinating. It's not about, I feel like I watch it more as like a introductory video to how to survive life better. Hey, here are some situations you probably should never get yourself into.
Yeah.
Hey, if some, person says this thing, then maybe you don't trust them. Ted Bundy's arm is not broken. These little things. And or being more cautious if you are going to do things like that and go out on a limb for people, just being more cautious about it. I love some of these things they have these days where it's like apps that you can, immediately get on the phone with somebody and your camera comes like FaceTime style, and it's all being recorded. So even if that person chooses to do something after the fact, well, you got to have your phone on you. But, those little things where it's just ways to be more aware of my surroundings, which I've always been fascinated with and has gotten me far in life, being aware of my surroundings, And for me, that was a big part of why I convinced myself I like it. It's only like 20% of why I like it. But
I'm very fascinated by
good part of why I convinced myself I like it.
Bluntly fascinated by the psychology, I have to say. Like for me,
Yep.
I watch it and I just am very interested in what breaks a human from the time they're born. What are the various things that break someone till they become such an animalistic thing that would kill another human? Because you're not even really human by that point anymore. Or there are stories where it's like just really adverse situations where there's injustice and on the side of like you could tell this was clearly self-defense kind of situations, right? So there's all kinds of different stuff that I get really interested in, the psychology of that. But then it's disturbing to me because here I am having my nice little psychology lesson in my house, in the safety of my house, and meanwhile these people that we were talking about have died, right? These people have family members who miss them terribly.
They have families. Exactly.
And you're there like, oh, it's so interesting to learn about their killer. Like, okay, sociopath, but it is though, and that's the human part of all of us. And even when I listen to my true crime podcasts, boy, those people even talk about that very like in a self-aware way. They have a lot of moments where they talk about like we recognize that we're in a loop here, especially because people like serial killers tend to kill for publicity. And so the more podcasts and, TV documentaries and things like that are created about them, the more that they're kind of validated in this choice of being a killer. And we're in a loop, a vicious loop of being fascinated by what's evil and what's evil wanting to be fascinating. And do you see what I mean? It's like a snake that eats its own tail. It never ends. And I think we like to look back and be like, oh, look at the gladiators, and we're just so much better than that now. Can you believe the things people used to do to each other? It's like, we still do that shit. Look at the show Hoarders.
No, the arena's in your living room.
I can't look away from the show Hoarders. Hoarders is sad. That's people's lives are like falling apart on that show, and you're just watching it to be like, I'd never live like that. That's disgusting. I watch it to literally like, that is my fluffer for the sex of cleaning my house, is watching Hoarders. I watch that and I'm like, time to clean. You start like organizing shit and vacuuming.
Like, just one more thing I am in control of. See?
That's exactly.
People, yeah.
Yeah, and maybe that's it. Maybe somehow watching somebody else's suffering for a minute makes you feel more in control of the fact that you're suffering too. I mean, maybe that's it.
Well, it goes back to what I just said about why I watch it. So what? I could be more aware and control of my around. It goes back to exactly that point. And now I kind of understand it better. Sometimes I amaze even me.
See what talking with me and talking out loud about your own feelings does? Clarity. It allows for clarity.
Clarity. Crystally, demonically clear.
True. But that is, I don't know. I do gravitate towards people who at least are honest about enjoying these terrible things. And I think, though, that everybody has stuff. So even if true crime isn't your thing, I think a lot of people have, like, something, even if it's the evening news, some kind of suffering that they almost kind of are addicted to watching. It's just part of humanity, I guess. Just part of how fucked up we all are. What can you say? You know? Brittany and I have been very, very aware of these things since we were very small. When I was thinking about us doing the podcast together, I was going to introduce you by saying, Brittany's known me since we were basically children, but then I realized we've never been children, Brittany. We've never been children.
I was going to say, I met you when I was 17. I was well into my adulthood.
Yeah, 17 is so
parenting my
sophisticated.
parents by that age. Are you kidding?
I'd say Brittany 17 is actually like 35. You were probably about as mature as I am presently when you were 17 years old. Yeah, that was fun when we were teenagers. At least for me, I felt not fun being a teenager with this level of being self-analytical, because I was like constantly aware of the fact that I was an asshole and still chose to be an asshole anyways. And then hated myself for consistently being an asshole and knowing that I was choosing it. So that was a fun loop that I was in for a little while there. Good old hormones. Good old
hormones. They're
either making you an angry teenage girl or causing you to have angry turkey baster sex. You never know.
Thank you. There it is. That's exactly what I was thinking of.
See?
The angry turkey baster sex.
It's still a thing. It's still affecting us. Fucking hormones. That would be all for my chat with Brittany today. So let's all say goodbye to the lovely Brittany. Bye-bye, Brittany.
Bye-bye.
And I want to thank all of you for joining us this week for Overshare, and I do hope that you will join us next week, where the topic of conversation is going to be how we keep ourselves busy while we are trapped in our damn houses. What are you guys doing out there to keep yourselves busy? I want to know. Let me know. I'd love to discuss with you. And, hopefully it's healthy stuff. Hopefully it's stuff that's creative and good and positive, right? Hopefully you're not actively stabbing each other while you're listening to this podcast right now. If so, stop that. Put the knives down. Violence is never the answer. All right? If you need a distraction next week, tune in. In the meantime, this has been Tiana. That has been Jeffrey.
Bye, guys.
And we have overshared. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And remember, love always wins.